How are you? It's Oliver Fernandez with The Imperfect Entrepreneur, and I can't believe it's been a year since I ran the marathon. I was just thinking about it the other day, and I'm super excited to dive into the three biggest takeaways that I took away from running that marathon and how it's impacted my life and really helped set me up for the next trajectory that we're heading towards, and that's a $100 million company. So this past week was a weird week because my daughter was playing at school and she ended up hurting her knee or ankle. We really couldn't figure out which one it was, but she was limping. And we're going out. She dressed up as a Coco Melon. Or actually not JJ, but it was actually just Coco Melon. So she had a big watermelon head for Halloween, and we're walking for Halloween, and she's limping, and it's like, so painful to see your daughter that you want to protect limping for Halloween. But she's starting to feel better now, and we got her some x-rays, and she's everything checked out, so we'll keep working through that. So the marathon, man, that was such a crazy time. COVID happened. We just had our daughter. I was starting to get chubby, I was starting to put on some weight. I wasn't working out. All the gyms were closed, and I got so sick and tired of making excuses about why I couldn't do something. I just started running one day. I remember I ran down to my sister's house. She lived probably a mile away from me, and we just went for another 1.5 mile run, and then we ran all the way back. So all in, it was like 3 miles, and that was running my first run after not running at all for a number of years, and was so sick. That day I was miserable because I just dog sick after that. And for some reason, I got this crazy idea to run a marathon after that. And it was that marathon has done so many amazing things in my life. It was a point in time where everybody else was kind of clamming down and staying home and wanting to be isolated, and it got me out. It got me focused on what I want to do, focused on where I want to go, focused on, pushing myself. And I hadn't run in years, you know what I mean? Like I'd do occasional jog or something, but my running days basically ended in 2008 when I stopped playing football. Like there was no need for me to run. There was no carrot. There was no benefit for me to run, and I could get my workouts in other ways. So I was like, why am I gonna, go crazy with the running? And I also went through like a surgery on my left foot. So I was not only was running, not something that I enjoyed, but it was actually a painful thing after I went through that surgery. So setting that big vision was so key for me. It was so key because it was something that honestly I didn't know if I could do. Like I had a surgery on my left foot. My joints are, they're not in the best shape. I put a lot of pounding on it when I was a kid, and mentally I knew I could get there, but physically my body, I really didn't know. I didn't know if it could handle it. Because there was times where I remember I was 23 years old, 24 years old. And the reason why I'm remembering this is because my brother-in-law was saying, it's always good to have a cane, and I'm like, dude, you know what? I was 24, 25 years old walking through the airport with a cane. And here I was like always in sports, always playing things, always doing things, very active all through grade school, high school, college. And now I'm 24 years old walking through the airport with a cane. In excruciating pain. I could only walk 1,000 yards, and I would literally have to take a break, and I would bite my hand because I was in so much pain, or just gnaw down on my hand just to try to create some pain in some other place in my body so I could forget about the pain that I was dealing with in my foot. And then all of a sudden now I have an idea or a dream or a goal to run a marathon. So it was totally out of this world. We kept working through it, I set that vision, and oftentimes when you set a vision, there's going to be people around you, especially if you're not in the right environment, that are like, hey, are you sure you're going to be able to do that? I remember maybe 3 months out from the marathon, And honestly, I hadn't run big miles up until like maybe the month before the marathon. And I was at one of my friend's house, and they were talking about, running their own marathon. And I told them, like, yeah, I got a plan to set up. I'm running a marathon at the end of October. And he was like, how many miles have you run? And I was like, 6. That was the most I've ever run, was 6. And he's like, you're not gonna run a marathon. You're not gonna be able to run a marathon. I remember telling like other family members, wow, Oliver, you sure your body can handle that? Like, that's a lot of miles, man. That's a lot of miles. I really think you should reconsider that. I really think you should reconsider it, because, that's a lot of pounding on your body. And you didn't tell other people, and you tell them the big goal, like, hey, I'm going to run a marathon, and they just would sit there quiet. Have you ever run one before? Or they'll say things like that. Have you ever run one before? And it's just like, when you're in business and you're trying to create something big, and you're trying to do something big, not everybody's going to be on the same wavelength as you. Not everyone's going to have the same vision as you. And that doesn't matter. That's the cool thing about it, is it doesn't matter. Let them think whatever they want to think. Let them believe whatever they want to believe. As long as you believe you can do it, I'm living proof that you can do it. As long as you believe you can execute on the game plan, that's all that matters. So all those people that were like, you're never going to be able to do that. 6 miles is the most you ever ran. He doesn't know the dog inside of me. He doesn't know the fight inside of me. He knows the fight inside of him. Maybe he couldn't do it, but he doesn't know the dog inside of me. He doesn't know the fight, doesn't know the grit, doesn't know the grind inside of me. So like, how am I ever supposed to take his, that's basically what he was giving me. He was giving me his opinion of himself and trying to overlay that over me. And I'm so glad that I just sideswiped that. Like, no, I caught that right before it hit my mind and threw it away. Even though I say that now, but in the moment when I really want to be honest and I want to be truthful and I want to be authentic, I will tell you that it did throw a little bit of doubt. That little bit of doubt, man. And it was just like, I was like, I started questioning myself, and all of a sudden now I'm using my greatest superpower, my superpower of anticipation, being able to, I know I can do something, to now all of a sudden eat away at, hey, Oliver, you sure you can do it, big man? Hey, Oliver, you sure you can get this one done? And and that's why it's so important to be in the right environment, to get around people that inspire you, get around people that believe in your targets. All they had to say was like, dude, I know you can do it. That's all they had to say. I don't need to hear anything else. I set the goal. I set the target. All I needed them to say is, yeah, I know you can do that. I know you can do that. Like, when I communicate with people now, I love when people tell me a big goal they have. I love it. Because if there's only 2 ways I'm gonna respond to that, is how can I help? Right? Now, doesn't put a cap on it, right? Like, that's how can I help? Now it's like, hey, now I'm going to add more fuel to that target you have, right? Or the second way I'll respond to is, man, I'm excited for you. I love when people set big targets and go out there and hit them. So both of the ways that I would ever respond to someone telling me a big target just adds fuel to the fire. Just continues to inspire someone to keep going. Me personally, I don't want to be that person that chokes out belief, chokes out someone else's goal. Like, I don't even like when people around me that are like that. So I just like, I try to keep my environment clean, because I can't handle that stuff like that. There's very few things that really just irk me to my core, and that's one of them. Like, hearing people cast doubt on other people's dreams and goals and where they want to go in life. I like, something about that I just despise. So, biggest takeaway from that running that marathon and how it relates to business is set a big vision, and then put people around you, get around people that can add fuel to that vision. Don't get around people that are going to steal energy, steal your excitement, steal your ability to go out there and hit that target. The second biggest thing The second biggest thing was just doing the work, man. It was, it was so, my body was breaking down. Like, I mean, to be 100% honest with you, 8 weeks before the marathon, and it was coming up, I was starting to have nightmares about this stuff, because I was just like, dude, how am I supposed to, my body's literally giving up on me. How am I supposed to get to the finish line? I literally couldn't walk 8 weeks before the marathon. Like, my knees hurt so bad. They were in so much pain. Like, I had trouble even walking to work. Like, walking my daughter to daycare. I was having so much pain in my legs that I was struggling with that, let alone run a marathon. Like, the craziest feelings, you know what I mean? Like, the craziest, because I had set this big goal, and like I don't ever want to disappoint myself. So I'm like, all of a sudden, like, I'm dealing with all this pain, and pain does this another weird thing to your body, right? Pain, when you really think about it, it's like a regulator. It tells you to stop, and then I'm telling myself to go. So my body was like literally, like I was in a stick shift car in first gear, and I'm revving up, and I can't go, and it's like it's shirking and jerking and trying to get to the next gear. And that's literally how my body felt. So 8 weeks before the marathon, I was barely even walking, let alone trying to run a marathon. 26.2 miles. Like, it's hard. It's like driving 26.2 miles takes time, let alone run a marathon like that, right? With bad legs. So it's like just doing the work, like it was so important to me that I was going to Rolfing 2-3 times a week. And Rolfing's like this deep tissue massage. I was going to my chiropractor. Whatever it took to get to that finish line, I needed to do. Because I knew one thing. That this whole thing was basically a test. A lot of people will talk about how strong they are, and how gritty they are, and how willing to do whatever it takes they are. And I will talk about that too. And now I was like, okay, let's see if we can run a marathon, big boy. And now I put that to the test. I put it to the test, and man, it was a test. I mean, I was like, I was like this close from quitting. And I was just like, one more day, Oliver. Just give it one more day. Give it one more day. Just give it one more day, Oliver. Give it one more day. And every one more day, I just kept putting in the work, getting those massages, loosened up my muscles, and allowed me to go do a big run. So that next big run, I ran for like, I can't even remember the numbers, but I ran for like 4 or 5 hours, and I ended up getting like 11, 12 miles. And I thought I ran like 18 miles. So I was like devastated to realize that I only ran 12 miles. And then I knew that my marathon was going to be not only that 12, but it's another 12, and then even some more. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is going to be nuts. So then I went back and I flushed my body out, was doing it whatever it takes, and I got back into my chiropractor. She loosened me back up, and then I was like, I gotta hit another one. So I hit 18, and I was like, man, that's it. I said 18's good. I'm just gonna keep in rhythm until the marathon, and then when I line up for that marathon, I'm just gonna step up to the plate and let's see what we got here. And oh man, that marathon was crazy. I remember being in the process. And another cool thing is my buddy's reading that book, Can't Hurt Me. And I was listening to that book, Can't Hurt Me, the whole time. And I was like hysterically crying during that thing. I mean, just to hear the stuff that he was going through in that book, and then also feel the stuff that I was going through at that moment in time, running that marathon. I was like hysterically crying. People were like, what's going on with this guy, man? He's like, here you go, big guy running, and all of a sudden he's crying too. Jesus, what's going on? So, just listening to that book, it just inspired me to just keep moving forward, and like hearing all the things. He had fractures in his shins and all this stuff, and he just kept moving. I was just like, one more step, oh, one more step. And I just kept moving. And then next thing you know, I got to that 18 point, and that's what the most I'd ever gotten. And I was like, all right, now it's time to either see what I'm made of. I started running back, and all of a sudden you hear in the book where it's like things are cramping up and you just like your body just freezes up on you. And then I'm like, man, I just got this cramp in my calf, and I'm like, oh Jesus, oh man, this might be it, man. I hope this ain't it, man. I made it this far. I hope this ain't it. And I was like, the thing was cramping up, and I kept running because I one of the things that I set for myself was that I want to run this marathon and run the whole time. I don't want to walk any of it, so I want to run the whole time. So I just kept like running. I wasn't running fast, but I was moving, and my leg is cramping up, and I'm trying to straighten it out, and I'm like, and the next thing you know, my hamstring starts cramping up. I'm like, oh man, this is it. This is it. They're like, oh geez, this is it. I'm like, man, this is where my body's gonna give out. And the next thing you know, I'm just kept moving, and I was like, man, I hope this isn't it. I hope this is not it. And I kept moving, and then all of a sudden it just dissipated. My body finally understood that, hey, this thing up here is controlling everything, and this thing up here ain't quitting. So you want to cramp up, do all that other stuff you want to do, but I'm rolling. And when I saw that finish line, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did it, man. I was like, holy cow. All of that, and it just was like, so it was a really emotional time for me, because I was like, I had set this target, didn't really know if I could do it, honestly didn't believe that I could do it until I just had to believe that I could do it, and then being able to do it and finish it, and then fight through all of like the pain in my legs, you know, all of the things that I had gone through over the last like 12, 13 years, to be able to hit that finish line and do something that I thought I could never do. That's what set me up for the third thing, right? And the third thing is, like, in business, there's always going to be tests. There's always going to be areas where we're going to see what you're made of. But if your vision is big enough and your mission is strong enough, and our mission is to enhance the lives of 1 million people. If that mission is strong enough and enhance the lives of 1 million people through real estate and construction, if that mission is strong enough and you really believe in it, and we got tested this year. We had jobs that should have been winners that were losers. We had jobs that should have been smooth were hard. And we got tested and punched in the gut and really tested to see if what we were made of, similar to those exact same experiences in that marathon. And if you're really committed to making it, you will make it. That's all that matters is continuing to show up, continuing to put energy and effort into it, and continuing to focus on the things that are going to get results, that are going to take care of the things right now. And we got to that end of that marathon, tested, saw what I really could do. You know, people talk about what they could do, but seeing what you could actually really do really solidified that, man, this target of $100 million, I can do it. We can do it. We can execute on the game plan and do it. And the way we're going to do it is by bringing a team of all high performers that want to go and create something big together, and aligning that team to the goal and the vision. And excited about it. And that marathon led to this catalyst of the business that we're creating right now. Like we're creating projections for next year, and honestly, the organization as a whole could be a $40 million company by the end of next year. And that's exciting to me, because I remember what it was struggling to even hit $10 million. And then slipping back after hitting 12 to 6, and like feeling lost, feeling like a failure, feeling like I couldn't execute and I couldn't be the person that I wanted to be. Couldn't be the person that I wanted to be. And now being the person that I wanted to be, because I'm putting in the work, putting the right people around me, and giving my ear to the right people, the right mentorship, and then putting in the work. Like they're not doing it for me, but we're doing it, and then aligning the team so that we can all be in this together and create something bigger together, because nothing big ever happens alone. And really studying the greats, like the people, the billionaires out there. They don't own 100% of anything. They don't own 100%, because they understand that they need a team together to go and create something big together. So with that, Go out there and continue to build your legacy. I use that marathon to fuel me and to help inspire me, to help confirm through testing that I am built to do whatever I want to do. And the next target that I want to do in business is to create a $100 million company. And I'm super excited to do it with my team and the people that are coming on the team and looking to do something big. Let's roll and have a great day.